Hello again, my YouTube lovelies, and welcome to episode 8 of the van build series. Wash behind your ears. Just that actually, I feel really refreshed. I've still got the remnants of this cold, hence why I wasn't able to release a video last week. So I hope you can hear this and it's all coming across clearly. I might sound a little bit husky. Well, that's one for the ladies, hopefully. So, where did we get to last time? We were prepping the van, etc. And really, you know, what I'm doing in this one is this episode is really concentrating on the prepping of the van. Having stripped out all the timber and all of the various bits and pieces, revealing the shell for the first time, revealing the bodywork. Obviously uncovered a few, a few troublesome spots. And, the holes in the wheel arches, which I suppose maybe is to be expected. I've heard that there are areas that do tend to sort of get worn quite a lot. But the holes ended up being sort of a bit more substantial in the end. It's one of those things, isn't it? You start picking at a scab and before you know it, you're in all sorts of bother. And what turned out to be quite small holes, by the time I'd sort of rubbed away with a file, had my grinding disc and just rubbed away, the rust came away in sort of fairly large chunks, so it started to reveal a bigger hole than I'd anticipated. Now, I've probably made a mistake here. There's probably some of you who are now thinking what I'm about to do in this, or show you what I did in this video, is probably a mistake. I'm on a timeline. I've got to get into this van fairly quickly. I've probably not told you in the previous episodes where I'm at or what I've been doing. Maybe I'll leave that for later. But nonetheless, there's a deadline. I've got a deadline to meet. I'll explain that deadline in a future episode or two, I think. So, needless to say, I've got to work with the abilities that I've got. I'm not a welder. I'm not good in metalwork in any kind of way, shape or form. So I basically thought that the next best thing for me to do is to just try and fiberglass all of the holes that I had. And I'd watched some videos on it and everything, and I thought to myself that the hole was not too crazy in terms of size, and that it would be something that we'd be able to cover up with some fiberglass. So that's the way I went. I bought this kit. I can't remember where I got it from. I think I might have got it from Toolstation, I think. A brand called Big Boy. And I got all the bits and pieces, and I just started to mix with regards to the instructions. Must definitely get yourself some gloves for this. I think the kit might come with gloves, I seem to remember, but they're those really flimsy ones that just don't last long. So I think in the end I ended up putting on a set of marigolds, which was quite nice. And use those to just protect your skin. And to be honest with you, it was fairly sort of straightforward, following the instructions, mixing the right amounts of liquids and various properties that all need mixing, and what have not needs doing. And if I remember right, I think I cut up the strips. So I pre-cut. You get the fiberglass in its webbing form, and the material was in a sheet. So I seem to remember I cut them into sort of workable sizes. Now, when I first started applying this stuff, I tried to do each section and try and coat each section individually, and then lay it on. It proved to be a bit of a pain in the arse doing it that way. So I think I found an easier solution, which was to, once I'd got one layer on, I would sort of coat, I would put one strip over, and I would basically brush it in situ. So rather than pre-soaking the fiberglass, I soaked it whilst actually laying it onto the surface area, and that seemed to work okay actually. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Oh, my screensaver's gone down. Trying to put up something, you know, sometimes you try to do things and kind of be a little bit professional, a little bit different, you know, and you think, oh, why bother? But anyway, there you go. So yeah, the stuff went on all right. I revealed a lot more holes in the floor than I'd anticipated as well, so there are a few bits and pieces there that needed attention. But there's probably some of you out there probably thinking, oh, you should have really got, you know, a piece of plate of metal welded over those areas. I've not looked underneath really. I don't see any holes coming up at present. I don't see any moisture or anything coming up through the wheel arches, so I can only presume that what I did was okay. It's passed 2 MOTs since I've put that stuff in as well, so, but I guess in hindsight, and if I was to ever encounter those sort of problems again, maybe I would just take it to a body shop and get some metal plates welded in. But to be honest with you, once the fiberglass had dried up and when I got back to it and looked at the results, it was pretty rock hard. And yeah, there was no way it was coming off, and yeah, it certainly wasn't going to come unstuck, and although it looked like a dog's dinner, at the end of the day, you know, all I'm doing is just literally covering up a hole. So I don't think it was too bad in the end. This is where we find out 6 months down the line the whole back end of my van falls away halfway down the motorway. I don't think it's going to come to that. So yeah, that was the fiberglassing. The fiberglassing stuff you've got to work quite quickly with. It is really messy, so preparation's key with that. And I think in the end, one kit wasn't enough, so I ended up having to buy another kit. So you probably need a lot more than you think you do. Once that was done, the only other thing really for prepping was just to do any rust spots that I had earlier. I mentioned to you the fact that there were screws that were left from the flooring, so those screws had been ground down, but they left little rust spots here and there across the floor. So all of those little things, I just basically got myself a tin of Hammerite and then just painted any bits of rust that I saw. I just painted away. I cleaned the area as much as possible with I had like a special sponge stroke sander which would rub away the surface rust, and then I would just coat it with some Hammerite. And needless to say, I gave the van another almighty clean. So the cargo hold was cleaned again, the same with hoovering, wiping down. I wiped all the surfaces down once again. And then I gave, now that the bulkhead was gone, I was able to give the cab a really, really good clean, and the cab was disgusting. It always reminds me of that Top Gear episode where they get these cars and then they go in there with a fine tooth comb and start to actually sort of scrape away the debris and the stuff that's all over the dashboard and everything, and it's actually quite horrendous. Oh, perish the thought or what goes on inside vehicles that we buy. So so I really cleaned the front cab as much as possible. You actually get a point and a chance now to really go to town with cleaning it, because you can actually get to the back of the seats, and that's why I wipe down the back of the seats, you name it, because all of this had been covered up by a bulkhead. So it was nice to really get in there and give it a really good clean. And that is it really for this episode. It literally was just giving it one almighty scrub and to prep it as much as possible. From now on in, everything that goes into the van is the components that are necessary to make it into a livable space. So this is kind of like a real turning point in the build process, because up to this, sometimes you think, oh yeah, just strip the van of this and just give it a clean, etc., etc. That process actually took me a lot longer than I expected. I can't hazard a guess as to how long it took. It must have been the best part of a week or 2 weeks worth of just getting it to a stage where I could build. I'm amazed sometimes the amount of videos that I've seen out there where people just literally just go in and just start building straight away, without going to the lengths that I went to, which I find staggering. But that's just how I am. That's just the way I roll. I have to sort of prep an area as much as possible before I'm about to do the things that I want to do on it. So I'll leave this episode there. Try and keep these as short and sweet as possible. The next episode is episode 9, called Snug as a Bug in a Rug. This is an episode where it concentrates pretty much solely on the insulation. So from this point onwards now, we are really cracking on and starting to do the van build. I'm hoping that you enjoy these episodes, hoping that you're enjoying this season. I've decided now actually as well to make these into seasons. So we're in season 1 and I'll give it a slight break, and then we'll go into season 2, and then there'll be a season 3. There's a lot of stuff to cover, and I've got lots and lots of B-roll to show you. So yes, I hope you're enjoying these episodes. If you are, please comment and subscribe. Big shout out to Liam the Terrible, by the way. I'll just give you a little thing there. There you are, Liam. You're forever on my left breast. Thanks for the t-shirt, mate. And enjoy your Christmas festivities, and I'll maybe knock out another 1 or 2 of these prior to the new year, and then I'll see you in the new year. So happy holidays, and until next time, cheers.